Okay, everyone, I hope this video will be useful for you. I just want to go over multi-step equations, but let's quickly review, because it's still important, one-step and two-step equations. What's the goal? To isolate the x variable. How do we do that? By performing the inverse towards the x variable. The inverse is the opposite. So take, for example, the first one that we have here. 27 equals 11x plus 6. Plus 6 plus 6, because there is a minus. So now we have 33 equals 11x. What's going on now? There's a multiplication, 11x. So what's the opposite? Division. We will divide both sides by 11. So, final answer, x equals 3. Okay, seems simple enough. Let's check out the next one. What's going on here? X plus 12 divided by 2. It's an expression that is divided by 2. Therefore, let's get rid of the 2 first. Multiply both sides by 2. Why? Because both sides, as we have it, 96 equals x plus 12, both sides must be replicated to still equal each other. Now we have 96 equals x plus 12. So there's an addition, so that means we must do the opposite to move it across. Subtraction. So now we have the final answer of x equals 84, because 96 minus 12 is 84. Okay, excellent. Let's take one more example, just so that we can all see before we do multi-step equations. We have 10 equals 4x plus 6. What's going on here? There's a subtraction. So let's do an addition, because it's the opposite. Let's add 6 to both sides. Now we're looking at 16 equals 4x. What's going on now? We have a multiplication. Let's do the opposite. Divide by 4. Now we have x equals 4. All right. So, if you guys need any revision on one-step or two-step equations, you'll find resources available on Brightspace. Let's now take a look at multi-step equations. Multi-step equations. So when we take a look at multi-step equations, we're doing the same thing that we were doing earlier. Balancing the scales. Isolating an x variable in order to find a solution. In order to do multi-step, you must remember the third term elements of distributing and combining expressions. Your final result must have a variable on one side, as you can see, x, and a number on another, as you can see, 4, to still balance the equation. So let's take a look at the steps that we have to follow. Let's look at example 1. In example 1, what's our goal? Well, just like earlier, isolate the x variable. How are we going to do that? Following the exact steps that we have been presented with. Notice in step 3 and 4, we'll have to apply the opposites of adding and subtracting to isolate the variable. In steps 1 and 2, we will need to remember what we have learned from the third term of simplifying expressions. In the following example that you can see, we have a lot of expressions and a lot of elements, lots of variables and numbers. Eek! Scares me a little bit. So how are we going to solve that? Well, distribute. If you will recall, when we have a number on the outside, we have to multiply it with the elements on the inside of the house. Number 4 wants to enter the house. He can only enter if he is being multiplied by the variables and numbers inside of the house. So when we do that, we're going to do 4 times x, and that will give us 4x, and 4 times 2, which is going to give us plus 8. And, well, plus 8, that stays the same. And what else do we have? We have minus x on the other side, and looky. We've got 4 times x and 4 times 2. We are applying the distribution property. So now we do plus 4x and plus 8. Excellent. We've done step number 1, distributing. Step number 2, we're now going to combine the like terms. Let's see what we have. So, if we will recall, a nice strategy to do is to color what we have, 4x. We have a negative x here and a plus 4x here. And from that, we can color the other colors in the other color. So now, just like we learned in the third term, we can combine the colors. So on this side of the equation, right, if there's the equation, we still have 4x and plus 8, well, that gives us plus 16, equals. You see how we haven't moved anything? We've only combined the like terms on both sides of the equation. Now we have negative x plus 4. Negative 1, because negative x is negative 1, plus 4. That gives us plus 3x and plus 8. Excellent. So we've done step number 2, combining the like terms. Let's take a look now at step number 3, moving the variable. So when we see that we have 4x and 3x, we know that the final thing that we're looking for is x equal something. So to make our lives simpler, we can just subtract 3x and subtract 3x. This will leave us with the x on one side. And then we haven't done step 4, so we're going to keep it how we have it, equals 8. Step 4 is about moving the constant, meaning the number. So you see how we have at the moment x plus 16 equals 8? Well, if we subtract 16, because if you will recall, what we need is x on one side and a number on another. So we have to subtract 16 because it's on the wrong side of the equation. So we subtract 16, and we now have x equals negative 8, because 8 minus 16 is negative 8. So in this very generous question, we didn't need to do step number 5, because we already have x on its own, and our goal was to isolate the x variable. So this question didn't require us to look at step number 5. But let's take a look at the next question. So this one is correct. Let's observe the next question. Example number 2. The goal, to isolate the x variable. How will we do that? By following the exact steps we have been presented with. Step number 3 and 4, as you will recall, is the opposite of adding and subtracting. So let's take a look at step number 1, distributing. Remember from term number 3, that means getting rid of the house, because the 6 wants to enter the house, but he can't. So let us distribute the 6. We now have 6 times 3x, 18x. And 6 times 1, plus 6. And we still have the negative 30. Nothing's happened to that. Ooh, but let's look at this side of the equation, because we still have to do 3 times 2x, which is 6x, and 3 times negative 4, which is minus 12. So we have now performed the exact operations that we needed to do. From here, what we can do is move on to step number 2, combining the like terms. So let's write out what we have. We had 18x plus 6 minus 30 equal to 6x minus 12. Remember that when we balance the like terms, it's only things on one side of the equation when we combine them. So we have plus 6 and minus 30 on one side, and negative 12 all on its own on the other. And well, it looks like 18x and 6x can't really be combined quite yet. What we can do is 18x, so let's write it down here, 18x plus 6, so positive 6, minus 30 will give us minus 24, which will be equal to 6x minus 12. We seem to be in a very good direction. Moving the variable. Recall that the variable is always the letter. If we subtract 6x on both sides of the equation, you will see that we have now eliminated 6x on the x variable on one side of the equation. So now we have 12x minus 24, sorry about that, minus 24 equal to negative 12, because we canceled by moving the variable to the other side. So from here, what is the end result that we need? X equals something. So that something must be a number. So let's move the constant onto the other side. Sorry about that, it just froze on me. So let's move the constant onto the other side, plus 24 and plus 24. We now have 12x equal to 24. Excellent. So in this example, we're going to be able to divide. Because look what we have. 12 times something equals 24. Well, you guys know. If we divide both sides by 12, divide both sides by 12, we now have x equal to 2. Final answer. And our solution, x equals 2 in this equation. We did example 3 in class, but I will remind you that you must always follow the steps. You will make errors if you do not follow the steps. Let's take one more example. Why not? So here we have, did we do this one? No, we did not actually. So here we have 2 times 3x plus 1. So let's look at step number 1, distribute. Let's get rid of the house. Get rid of the house. So we're going to need to do these multiplications, right? We will recall step number 1 is getting the 2 inside of the house. So let's see, 2 times 3x, that's 6x. 2 times 1 plus 2 minus 30, nothing changes there. And let's see, let's get rid of the brackets. So 4 times 2x plus 8x, and 4 times negative 4 minus 16. Excellent. So we've done our step number 1, distributing the brackets, Let's take a look now at step number 2, combining the like terms. I like to, as always, do a little coloring. There we go, we got plus 2 negative 30, okay, and negative 16 is on the other side, so we can't touch that. And we have 6x and 8x, so they can't really combine, but we can combine the numbers. So now we have 6x and positive 2 minus 30 is minus 28, right? Plus 2, positive 2 minus 30 is negative 28. And 8x minus 16. Okay, so let's move the variable over. Well, which side should we choose? Well, I personally like to have a positive x, so I'm going to subtract 6x from this side. That way we have a positive number, a positive variable. And that leaves us with negative 28 on one side equal to 2x minus 16. Excellent. So we've moved the variable. But now we have to do step 4. And as we see, we have 2x minus 16. So we're going to need to add 16 and add 16. So when we add 16 to 28, negative 28, negative 28, we end up with negative 16, negative 12, which is equal to 2x. And, well, we've done step number 4, moving the constant over. So what are we left with? Well, we have a 2 times something is negative 12. Divide both sides by 2, positive 2. That's why we moved the other thing. And we end up with negative 6. So x equals negative 6 is our final answer. Final answer. Okay, I'm going to say this one more time. Always follow the steps. These two are from step 1 and 2 are from term 3. And step 3 and 4 are exactly like one-step equations where you move the variable or you move the constant. If anyone needs any help, I am always available to you guys. Have a very good day, and I hopefully will see you guys in SIA or office hours. Take care.